Joining me now from our Sydney studios is Matt Logue from the Daily Telegraph. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Very well. Thanks for having me.
No, lovely to have you. Let's talk footy and bigotry. There was a front page story in the Herald Sun about former AFLW player Moana Hope copping homophobic slurs at the footy. She said it was traumatised her so much that she hasn't gone to a footy game in years. Does the AFL have a homophobia problem?
Yeah, that's the big question, I guess, and it's fair enough to be posed post this. Over the years, there have been a number of issues, not only in the AFL, but unfortunately in society in general. To say that the AFL has a problem, I think potentially would be going too far, but there's certainly an issue here that needs to be resolved because no matter where a person goes, it's footy or in public or to a concert or wherever, they shouldn't have to put up with that sort of abuse. So yeah, it'd be good if the AFL get on the front foot here. They're proactive and they stamp it out. They find out the people who are involved and they ban them. They really set a firm precedent because it just can't be tolerated and it can't get to a stage where it does become, as you say, potentially a problem and a big problem because that's what the AFL or any league in this country can't stand for that behaviour.
No, and the AFL is very big on this sort of thing, so they would have hated that story. They've built their brand around being very much progressive and inclusive. Now, abusive fans have also been on cricketer Dave Warner's mind. Warner said if fans in South Africa again target him and his wife with vile abuse, then the shame will be on them. Of course, 2 years ago, fans in South Africa bought Sonny Bill Williams face masks to try to shame Warner and his wife. And a number of the South African players also said some really personal things and some personal sledges that people would argue crossed the line. How do you think it's going to go? Because they've even got more ammunition now, don't they?
Oh, absolutely, Rita. I think Steve Smith summed it up fairly well. Like, he was obviously part of the cheating a couple of years ago in South Africa. The other day, Steve Smith said, look, people that pay their money, they can go there, they can say what they want. Unfortunately, it's not going to be pleasant, but the reality is that these guys, they did something wrong. They have faced pretty heavy consequences for that. They've faced time on the sidelines. Oh, yeah. But the reality is they've created this problem and you can't really stop people. They're going to have their say. So I thought Steve Smith, he's been through it as well. He handled that pretty well. Look, they will cross the line, and I think there are times where these sledges are going to become personal, and that's where I do agree that calm down. Really, is this this is not what sport's supposed to be about? But at the same time, the reason these sledges are happening is because these guys, they did something wrong. I know they've paid the price, but at the same time, this is what comes with the territory, and particularly in a passionate country like South Africa, they're not going to let these guys forget that. But hopefully they just focus on their cricket. They've been really good. We've only seen the summer of cricket for the Australians as they've been dominant. So hopefully they go over there and they get the job done and they'll silence them. But yeah, it's very hard to silence them completely given it was their fault that we've got this situation.
Yes, the South African fans, I think, are very similar to the Australian ones. They can be very mouthy and they can cross all sorts of lines. But I think our cricketers really don't have a lot of room to lecture anybody else, do they? Because they've been guilty of being really big sledges and getting personal occasionally. So if you can dish it out, you're going to be able to cop it.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's a reality of professional sport. Like, fans are going to have their say. They pay their money to go in, and look, it is disappointing when it does get personal and it's out of line. It's not appropriate. In no way am I endorsing that, but I tend to agree that these guys have created this problem. We wouldn't be discussing this, and the fans wouldn't be sledging them if they didn't do the wrong thing. So they've owned up to that in the past, and it'd be nice if fans would just move on. But unfortunately, that's just not how it works.
Yeah.
And fans will say what they want.
Absolutely, but I think in a way the terrible reception they've had from the fans of other countries, has helped Australians to forgive and forget what happened and to embrace them even more. So I think there has been an upshot in because people, we just look at it and go, this is unfair. These guys copped the heaviest penalty ever for plenty of other cricketers have tampered with balls and not got a 1-year ban, and what these guys copped, and to be continuously abused for it for the rest of your career would be rough. But I've got a fantastic sports story this week. This was my favourite sports story of the week, and it's the miraculous survival and recovery of NASCAR star Ryan Newman. Fans feared the worst when he flipped his car in this horrific crash. We'll just have a look at it. This was during the last lap of the Daytona 500, and it looked catastrophic, but Ryan Newman has already walked out of hospital with his young daughters by his side. It's a miracle, Matt.
It's remarkable stuff. Like that's crazy. Like it goes to really dispel the myth that, you know, motorsport, they're just guys that drive a car. Like, you know, how easy is that? Like, these guys are super fit, but they're also putting their lives on the line. We see that here domestically with the V8 supercars, but that's incredible stuff. And as I said, like it really highlights the toughness of these guys. And yeah, good on him, because like quite easily that could have been disastrous. I'm surprised he's probably got a few bruises, but for him to return so quickly like that and race again, yeah, these guys are more than just car drivers. Like they're serious athletes, and yeah, I can see why that's your favourite story of the week.
Yeah, well, this is a close, well, I think this is an equal first as well. This is a really, again, heartwarming story. The Indigenous All-Stars have reached out to 9-year-old boy Quaden Bales, who just had that heartbreaking story of being bullied. The video went viral, and Quaden's now been invited to lead the team onto the field for this Saturday night's game. That's going to be such a thrill for that little boy.
Oh, yeah, it's terrific stuff, and well done to the Indigenous boys. Latrell Mitchell, I believe he will be walking him out, and Joel Thompson will be holding his hand, and just a great thrill. But it's also the bigger picture here we've seen on social media. So many people across the globe have got involved with this. It's gone viral. Even a basketball manager has reached out to his family to say, come across and I'll get you into the LA Lakers game. Like, it's just it's really cool to see. And the bigger picture here is bullying. Like, it just can't be tolerated. It's so sad to see. That video was heartbreaking, and I think the response from people is what we need moving forward, and potentially like well, what's the cause of these problems? And you know, obviously kids are getting these behaviours from somewhere, and obviously parents also need to take on some ownership as well. That, you know, the bullying and behaviour like that towards their fellow students is just not acceptable. No,
there's also Hollywood actors, I think Hugh Jackman and a few others have also reached out to this little boy. We're going to talk a bit more about that in the next hour. But do you think this is going to have an impact on the other kids whose video, you know, there's no viral video of them, but they're facing that torment daily as well? Is it hopefully going to just raise awareness amongst the bullies that this isn't just a laugh, you're really hurting somebody? 100%. And do you think that will have an impact? I just wonder. Yeah, because you're right. It is a widespread problem, and probably parents and schools could be doing a lot more. Now, thank you so much for joining us, Matt. We'll speak to you again, and we can read your latest in the Daily Telegraph.